You are 12 years old, and you are sitting in the back seat of your grandmother's Buick in Atlanta, and she is explaining compound interest. Not explaining, demonstrating. She has a paper napkin from a Waffle House and a pen, and she is drawing a line that curves upward slowly, and then quickly, and then almost vertically, and she says, "The money makes money. You just have to not touch it." She is 71, and she worked as a school librarian for 34 years, and she has $1.4 million in a brokerage account that she built on a librarian's salary by starting at 32 and not touching it. You look at the napkin. You look at your grandmother. She is wearing orthopedic shoes and a cardigan with a small pin shaped like an open book. She does not look like someone with $1.4 million. This is the first financial education you receive, and it is the most important one. Wealth is not an appearance. It is a curve. And the curve requires time above all other things, and time is the one asset that diminishes as all the others grow. Your grandmother folds the napkin and puts it in her purse. She orders a waffle. You order one too. She pays with a $20 bill and leaves a $4 tip on an $8 check because, she says, you should always tip the people who feed you. You are 12, and you have just been shown every way that matters. The rest of your life is the elaboration. This is your life at every way to become a millionaire. Not the fantasy version, the actual version, what each path costs, what it requires, what it leaves behind that the account balance does not show. Way 1, the slow road, index funds. You get a job, marketing associate, $48,000. A company in Atlanta that makes industrial cleaning supplies and is neither exciting nor unstable, which turns out to be the correct combination. On your first day, your HR manager walks you through the 401k enrollment. You elect 15% of your salary, pre-tax, into a target date fund set to your expected retirement year. The company matches 4%. You are, on day 1 of your working life, investing $9,600 per year before you have learned where the bathroom is. You understand what you are doing because of the napkin, because your grandmother sat in a Waffle House and drew the curve. Most of your colleagues elect 3% or nothing, because 15% sounds like a lot, and the retirement date sounds far away, and the present is always more visible than the curve. You live within your salary. You drive a used car. You take vacations that cost less than $2,000. You are not depriving yourself. You are choosing the shape of your life deliberately, the way a person chooses a route because they can read the map. At 30, you increase your contribution to 18% when you get a raise to $64,000. At 35, you open a Roth IRA and max it annually. $7,000 a year into low-cost total market index funds with expense ratios of 0.03%, because your grandmother also taught you that fees are the enemy of the curve. At 45, your 401k crosses $400,000. You do not celebrate, you do not sell. A market correction drops it to $310,000 in 8 months, and you look at the number and feel nothing productive, so you look at the napkin. You have kept it, laminated, in your desk drawer, and you do nothing. Doing nothing is the hardest financial skill and the most valuable one. At 58, the total crosses $1 million. You are a millionaire the way your grandmother was a millionaire, in orthopedic shoes, quietly, without anyone knowing, because the number lives in an account and not on your wrist. The cost, patience, decades of it. The willingness to be boring about money while other people are interesting about it in ways that mostly do not compound. The lesson, the slow road is the fastest road that actually arrives. Way 2, the salary. Corporate climb. You choose differently. Not index funds and waiting. Acceleration. You get an MBA from Emory. $94,000 in debt. You join a management consulting firm in Atlanta. Starting salary, $115,000. Signing bonus, $25,000. You are 24 and you make more in your first year than your parents made combined at any point in your childhood, and the number feels like proof of something, and it is proof of something. That the credential works, and the credential cost a lot, and the math on the credential takes 4 years to turn positive. You work. Not the polite working of someone with a job, but the sustained 70-hour-a-week working of someone who understands that the consulting firm is sorting people constantly, and the sort is not announced, and the metric is output per hour, and the partners do not say this directly, but you can read it in who gets on the good projects and who does not. You get on the good projects. You make manager at 28. $165,000 base, $40,000 bonus. You make senior manager at 31. $210,000, $70,000 bonus. At 34, you make principal, $280,000 base, $120,000 bonus. Total compensation, $400,000. You save aggressively because you remember the napkin and because you have seen colleagues make $400,000 and spend $410,000, and the math of that is not consulting, it is a different kind of subtraction. You live in a nice apartment, but not the nicest. You drive a BMW, but not the new one. You invest $120,000 per year. The curve does its work faster because the contributions are larger. You leave consulting at 42 for a VP role at a consumer goods company. $340,000 total compensation, 40-hour weeks, a title that puts you on the executive leadership team. 2 years later, your net worth crosses $1 million. You are 44. The cost? The 70-hour weeks from 24 to 42. A first marriage that ended at 37, not because of the hours alone, but the hours were the context in which every other thing became harder. A relationship with your own body that required reconstruction when you stopped traveling and discovered what sitting still felt like. The lesson. The salary path works. The price is time, but time of a different kind. Not the patient time of the index fund, but the spent time, the used time, the time you trade for the number. Way 3. The business. Built from nothing. You watch your cousin build a landscaping company from a used mower and a Craigslist ad, and by year 6, it has 14 crews and $2.3 million in annual revenue and a waiting list in the spring, and you decide this is the model. Not landscaping, but the model. A service business with recurring clients and low overhead and the kind of work that compounds through reputation rather than advertising. You start a bookkeeping firm. You are a CPA with 4 years at a regional accounting firm in Atlanta. You have clients who complain about their bookkeepers. You become their bookkeeper. Your first client pays $400 a month. Your second pays $650. By the end of year 1, you have 11 clients, $72,000 in annual revenue, and have left the accounting firm, which was a conversation that felt larger before it happened than after. You hire a part-time bookkeeper at $22 an hour. She handles 8 of your 11 clients. You spend your freed hours on sales, which you are not naturally good at, and you get better at it the way you got better at everything, by doing it badly until you understand what badly means and correcting from there. At year 3, 34 clients, 2 full-time employees, $340,000 revenue, $140,000 net to you. You raise prices. This is the hardest and most profitable thing you do. You are afraid that clients will leave. 3 do. The remaining 31 generate more revenue than the previous 34 because the new rates reflect the actual value and the clients who stay are the ones who understood the value. You raise prices again the following year. At year 8, $1.2 million in annual revenue, 5 employees, a net income to you of $380,000. Your personal net worth crosses $1 million at 39, built from the revenue and the savings and the real estate you bought at 33. A small commercial building where you lease space to 2 other small businesses and occupy the 3rd unit yourself. The cost? 7 years of being the business before the business could stand alone. Sundays that were supposed to be off. A chronic inability to be fully present anywhere because the business is always present too. The lesson? A business is a millionaire machine, but you are the machine first. Way 4. The real estate. Equity by equity. You buy a duplex. $210,000. You put 10% down, $21,000. Your savings from 4 years of working as an engineer at a firm in Decatur. You live in 1 unit. You rent the other for $1,100 a month. Your mortgage, with taxes and insurance, is $1,340. Your net housing cost, $240. You have hacked your largest expense with a spreadsheet and a willingness to share a wall with a stranger. The tenant is a nurse named Gloria who pays on the 1st of every month and once baked you cornbread as thanks for fixing the garbage disposal in under an hour. You fix the disposal yourself because you have watched 4 YouTube videos about garbage disposals and because a plumber would charge $180, and you have decided that $180 belongs in the investment account. 3 years later, you buy a second property. A single-family house in East Atlanta Village, $285,000, financed conventionally, rented at $1,800 per month. Net cash flow after mortgage and expenses, $290 per month. Small, real. You repeat this. Not aggressively. 1 property every 2 to 3 years. As the savings accumulate, as the rental income compounds into down payments. You are not a real estate mogul. You are a person with a spreadsheet and a tolerance for occasionally taking a call at 9 p.m. about a water heater. By 47, you have 7 properties. Combined value, $3.4 million. Combined debt, $1.8 million. Net equity, $1.6 million. Annual rental income after all expenses and debt service, though $84,000. You still work as an engineer. The real estate is parallel infrastructure. A second economy running alongside the first one, built from one duplex and the decision to not mind the shared wall. The cost, 7 sets of maintenance responsibilities. The 9 p.m. calls. A period of 2 years when 2 properties had vacancies simultaneously, and the stress of carrying the mortgages without rental income tested every assumption you had made about your own risk tolerance. The lesson: real estate is slow, physical, occasionally infuriating, and it works. Way 5. The inheritance. Wealth transferred. You do not build the million. You receive it. Your father dies at 68. He was a civil engineer who worked for the same firm in Atlanta for 31 years, and who managed his money with the same precision he brought to load-bearing calculations, carefully, conservatively, without drama. He drove a Ford F-150 for 11 years. He bought his suits at Belk on sale. He invested in municipal bonds and total market index funds and a modest rental property in Sandy Springs that he bought in 1994 for $87,000, and that is worth $410,000 at the time of his death. The estate, $1.87 million, divided equally between you and your sister. Your inheritance, $935,000. You sit in the attorney's office in Buckhead on a Thursday afternoon and listen to a woman explain the step-up in basis and the estate tax threshold and the transfer timeline, and the number is real and your father is not, and the distance between those two facts is the entire weight of the afternoon. You do not spend it, not immediately, not because you are disciplined, but because spending it feels like a conversation you are not ready to have with what it means. You put $800,000 in a diversified portfolio managed by a fee-only advisor at 0.5% annually. You use $135,000 to pay off your mortgage, a decision that is not optimal from a pure return standpoint, and that makes you feel, the morning after, something you cannot name precisely, but which has to do with owning the place where you sleep without condition. Your net worth crosses $1 million at 34. You did not earn it. You inherited the choices your father made over 31 years in the same firm, 11 years in the same truck, 31 years of suits bought on sale. The million is his. You are the custodian. The cost, a father. The lesson no one says aloud, but everyone who inherits learns. The money arrives with instructions embedded in it, the instructions of the person who made it, and deciding whether to follow them or write your own is the first and most important thing the inheritance asks of you. Way 6. The windfall. Right place, right time. You join a startup. Employee number 14. The startup makes software for hospital supply chain management. Not glamorous, genuinely useful, solving a real problem in a large market. You join as a product manager. The salary is $95,000, below market. The equity is 0.4% of the company, vesting over 4 years with a 1-year cliff. You understand the equity the way you understand a lottery ticket. It is probably nothing, and you are here for the salary and the work, and the chance that it becomes something. You have been burned before. A previous startup that folded in year 2 with $180,000 in raised capital and 0 revenue. You are realistic. The startup is acquired 5 years later by a healthcare technology company. The acquisition price, $190 million. Your 0.4%, fully vested after 4 years, $760,000 pre-tax. After federal and state capital gains, $540,000. Plus the $95,000 salary, plus the raises in years 3 and 4 when the company could afford them, plus the 401k contributions you have been making throughout. Total net worth after tax, $1,100,000. You did not predict the acquisition. You did not choose the company for the exit. You chose it because the product manager role was interesting and the team seemed smart and the problem was real. You worked well for 5 years. The windfall is not the result of genius. It is the result of being present in the right place with vested equity when an event occurred that you did not cause and could not have reliably predicted. This is uncomfortable to say because it implies luck, and luck is not a strategy, and the financial internet does not like to admit that luck exists at a scale that changes lives. But it does. You are evidence of it. The cost, 4 years of below-market salary. The risk of the 0, the other startup, the one that folded. The lesson, the windfall path requires showing up for years before the event. And the event is not guaranteed, and most people who take the same path arrive at a different number. Way 7. The combination, all of the above. You do not choose one path. You choose all of them, partially, imperfectly, over 30 years. You start with the index funds because your grandmother drew the napkin and you never forgot. You build a salary because the index funds need contributions, and contributions need income, and income rewards competence, and competence rewards effort, and effort is the one variable entirely under your control. You buy a house at 29, not to flip, to live in, to own the place where you sleep, and you benefit from appreciation you did not engineer. You start a side business at 34, consulting in the field of your day job, 12 hours a week, $4,000 a month, enough to accelerate the curve without replacing the day job that funds the baseline. You do not receive an inheritance. You do not work at a startup that exits. Those paths are closed to you by circumstance, and you do not spend energy mourning them because the paths that are open are sufficient. At 41, the combination produces $1 million in net worth. No single decision made it happen. No single year was the year. The 401k contributed $340,000. The home equity contributed $280,000. The side consulting contributed $190,000 in invested savings over 7 years. The rest, raises captured and reinvested, a car not upgraded when it could have been, a vacation taken modestly when it could have been taken expensively. The combination is the most common path. It is not a story. Stories require a single decision, a single risk, a single moment when everything changed. The combination has no such moment. It has 30 years of Tuesday mornings where you made the less exciting choice and the less exciting choice compounded. Your grandmother is 91. She still has the brokerage account. It is worth $2.1 million now. She lives in the same house she has lived in for 40 years. She still tips the people who feed her. You visit her on a Sunday. She makes coffee. You sit at her kitchen table and you tell her the number, your number, the one that crossed 7 figures last spring. And she nods in the way of someone who expected this outcome from the moment she drew the napkin and is satisfied, but not surprised. She says, "The money makes money. You just have to not touch it." You say, "I know, Grandma," she says. "I know you know. I'm saying it again because the second million is faster than the first." She refills your coffee. The curve continues. This is all it has ever done.